the hares are starting to run, and we're in a bit of a dilemma. Like, I have no power, no hydro, no refrigeration. You know, preserving the meat's been very, very challenging, but I can't rely on the cold anymore. Because these days, like, it's, what is it right now? 1 degree, 2 degrees, supposed to shoot up to 3 degrees today. And this is, you know, January. Like, it's a little bit unheard of. It's a little bit daunting, but I don't want my meat to spoil. So I'm gonna have to go back to the primitive ways and the old school homesteader days. And I've done it lots here. It's probably one of my most popular go-to ways here on the homestead to preserve large quantities of meat. Anything that I can eat daily is fine, but when you start to accumulate too much meat, or you get a bear or whatnot, that abundance of meat is way too hard to preserve. So I'm going to show you today. I'm going to process this guy up. I won't do that with you. A lot of people find that very disturbing. I don't, but you got to protect the people that don't like it, I guess. So I'm going to process this guy up, and I'm going to show you what I do. I do about a 30 to 35 hour cold smoke, and I'll use this beautiful Snowshoe Hare as a demonstration in respect and to not spoil its wonderful meat that's going to provide us with life for a day or so. So thanks for tuning in. I love you lots, and I'll get this baby processed up, and then I'll show you how I do my smoking process. Okay, so we're back. I got a little bowl full of snow here. I'm going to throw this on the fire. Try to level it up so she's not too tipsy-toozy. Like, yay. And that'll be, I filleted, or I butchered up my, our hare. And now I'm going to get some water going so I can do a final cleanup on it and put it into some water. Then I'll pull it out. I'll hang dry it for a little while. We'll get there, because I want it, if it's going to go into my smoker, I want it to be as dry as possible, but I want to get that meat really nice and clean. So I'm going to boil this snow up here and do a little final touch-ups on my meat. Alrighty, let me show you what I got cooking here. So the most tedious part of getting this ready for the smoker, for cold smoking, long-term smoking, and long-term storage, food preservation, is that you have to dissect this thing down and get the meat really, really, really thin. Try and get most of the fat, get the fat off of that stuff. But here's what we do. The stuff that's just too finicky to get off, I got a lot of meat around the spine, and then I got the legs all cooking up. I've got the rib cage there. We'll pick the meat off that. Nothing goes to waste. Use it all. I'll even use the brain of the rabbit to tan the hide. So what you're doing for like an hour or 2 hours, even with such a small animal, for the smoke to permeate that meat, you got to get that lining off. There's like this real thin lining on the meat, and you want to try and get any of this fat off, because that can go rancid on you. That's not going to penetrate smoke and preserve very nicely, but you want to get your meat super, super clean and get any little stuff like this out. You don't want that in there. Get that off. And what the smoking process does, the cold smoking, is it doesn't cook the meat. It puts a nice patina, and it dehydrates the meat so no bacteria can grow inside that meat while it's storing long term. You can hot smoke in a few hours. Your food will last above freezing for a couple of days, but at that point it has the potential, obviously, to start to grow bacteria because it's not completely dried out. So basically what we're trying to do in that slow smoking, cold smoking process is dry the meat so that no bacteria can infiltrate it, because bacteria likes to grow in moisture. I check it, I make sure everything's cool. Sometimes you can even separate it and get a piece of that lining off, which I want, because if you leave that lining on, that I call it just the silver lining. You can tell by the look of that, that's a silver lining. The smoke's not going to permeate that. It's not going to get a good, like I have some here with silver lining on it, but I'm going to consume those quickly. So once I smoke, I'll eat those babies right away. And then I know there's no potential harboring of bacteria in there, and then it'll be safe for me to consume right away. If you're going for anywhere from like 3 to 6 months of food storage, you really have to make sure that that smoke is right through that meat, and that you have a thick layer of that permeated smoke on the outside, and that meat is completely dried out. You don't want to cook the meat. As soon as you cook the meat, you destroyed the process, and now the meat will spoil. This process, which has been used for thousands of years in different cultures, still to this day. You want to get yourself a really good bed of coals going, and then here's kind of what you're looking at. So I got a ton of really nice coals in there. The fire's going pretty hot. My meat's up above, and I don't have my enclosures on the side yet. I'm trying to get those coals really piping, so that I can start throwing my wet wood on. So I've got all these little green taglings and branches off the poplar. I'm going to use that to smoke, and I have another pretty good wet bunch of poplar here too. I've got some other stuff I'm going to grab, just smaller chunks, and yeah, but have a look. So you just want your meat to be really separated on there, and it's basically you're making a jerky. You're just going to dehydrate that, get all that moisture out of that meat, and then get that smoky patina on it to protect it. But it's looking good. Just going to have to get my sides on and put my wrap on this, and that's how when I'm in the bush I do smoking, and that's how when I'm here I do smoking. With the changing climate, we're not getting the cold temperatures anymore. When I start getting high accumulations of rabbits or hares and meat, it's going to spoil, and I can't have that happening. So we just got to roll with Mother Nature and roll with what she gives us, and come up with ways to work with her. This stuff's all been done before for many years. But yeah, so now I'm gonna get my sides wrapped on. I'll get my coals really good, then I'll show you once I get this baby piped up with smoke. But I've got all my green poplars on there now, my little branches I had left over. So it's starting to make a really nice smoke. And let this cook down just a little bit. It's still really cold up near the meat, which is what I want. I don't want any big flames. I want nothing touching that. My meat's super dry, which is great. It's all separated, and it's ready to smoke. So I'm gonna throw I've got this utility tarp here, heavy duty. I'm gonna just let this get really smoky, let those flames go out, and then I'm going to cover the whole thing up. Welcome back. So we're back, day 2 of smoking. I think we're on about 40 hours, close to 40 hours of a nice slow smoke. Last night the weather was really good. Everything's been working quite well, actually. Does take a lot of monitoring just to make sure, but yeah, just to make sure you don't burn her down or get your meat too hot. But I just cover it with this heavy duty utility tarp, and once again that's all I have going in there right now. I'm gonna pull this out. She's done. So under a cold smoke for approximately 35 to 40 hours probably. I mean, I can't say enough. It works amazing. So I just build the frame, and then, like I showed you, get yourself a nice little fire going. I just have this held on up here with the branch. So yeah, today while I was out here monitoring and watching this thing again, I got the brain out of the skull of the rabbit. I got the hide stretched out a little wee bit You can't pull on those hides too much. There's not much fat on them. They're really easy to tear. Tear them like paper. But I did a little mini stretch on it. I got the brain out. That's enough brain to mash up. And to tan the hide. Took all the meat off the skull. The cheeks, quite a bit of meat on the cheeks. Got it semi-stretched out. Paper thin. Try to get some of the fat off it. Got the little pawsies here. I'll dress those up. And then the skull's a bit bloody. Sorry about that. But yeah. Use every part of it. Elmer had a good feed. I had a pretty good feed. I'm going to have a better feed with this right here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching the process of cold smoking. Oh, Elmer scares himself. Northern Ontario snowshoe hare for long-term preservation, food preservation. So I don't know what's going on with climate change. None of us really seem to. The years are up and down. It's warm. Like, it's really, really warm. No gloves all day. Just strange. With no heat, hydro, refrigeration. There's no other, I can't preserve it any other way, you know. I can't pickle it. The jars freeze when I leave. Like if I canned it, the jars just crack. This place drops to -20. I mean, if I'm gone for a night or two, it just pops the jars, breaks them, ruins it, spoils it. I don't really want to salt it. Cold smoking. Just got to roll with what Mother Nature gives you sometimes. I love you all very much. Thanks for tuning in. This was a really nice... I'm really relaxed right now. Just because it's been such a nice, calm, serene, good flow kind of day. So wherever you are, I hope you're having a good flow kind of day. Okay? We'll talk to you later. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.